a sight in this little nothing town in McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, to have people like Danny Aiello and Jamie Lee Curtis and Tommy Lasorda and, different sports announcers and broadcasters. And it was almost a dream until one day it wasn't. And, the federal government, whenever I was a junior in college, I was in between jobs, probably the internship that I talked about earlier, and maybe going to work at the restaurant. And I had a knock at my door, and it was the federal government looking for my father. And he nor I did know why they were coming to look for him. And the reality was that his name was mentioned in a federal grand jury investigation. And at the time, there were these mandatory laws that if your name was mentioned during a federal grand jury investigation, the case was automatically a criminal case and not a civil case. And the prosecution rate for the federal government is actually quite high, believe it or not. I think it's in the 99% range. So there was quite a long investigation, but eventually my dad pled guilty to tax evasion charges and served 5 months in a federal prison. And it was at that point that my life really spiraled, because I was really struggling with a lot of challenges and, kind of figuring out, how did this happen? We were the family that everybody admired in the neighborhood, and when we were good people, and we remain great people all throughout this whole thing, but all of a sudden all of these horrible things were happening to us. And it was hard for somebody that was 20 years old to comprehend. So I moved to California, and I thought by moving 3,000 miles away, I would get away from all of my problems. But, problems have a way of finding where you're going and hopping in your luggage with you. And it was at one of my lowest points, and I was living in California with my then boyfriend, now husband. And I happened to go, my husband had seen that there was a Catholic nun that was doing a speech about an organization that she had founded called Get on the Bus. And it took children with incarcerated parents to go see their parents for Mother's Day at the time. And since then, it's now expanded to Father's Day. But my boyfriend really said, I think that you should go and see what this is all about. And I thought, I was a former Catholic myself and really didn't want to get into that. And I went because I, wanted to sort of appease him. And what I found whenever I went was a nun that I had never, ever met before. She was no habit. She was plain clothes, super duper flashy, nail polish, matched her toe polish, open-toed high heel wedges, and, had this just fiery way about just telling it how it is, and, enjoyed kind of all of the same things that just regular average people enjoyed, and just was this boisterous person that was just so full of life and so full of passion. And as she talked about Get on the Bus, and she talked about why she started the organization, and really it started out of a need. She thought she was going to bring volunteers to go visit women in prison, and she was excited about it, and she asked the women in prison, we're going to come and visit you, isn't that great? And resoundingly, the women said, yeah, it'd be wonderful to have visitors, but we never see our families. We haven't seen our children since we got here. And she was blown away, and she went around the room and said, how long had it been since you saw your children? And it was between 4 and 11 years that these women had seen their children. And she knew at that moment that she had to do something. And so Get on the Bus was born. And anyways, after she had presented the program, I came up to her because I was going through not at all the same thing, because I was lucky enough to, grow up with my dad, and my dad was only going to prison for a very short amount of time. And we had the means to go and visit him and to call him and to do all the things that we needed to do. But I felt a great pull to introduce myself and to see if I could be of service to her at all.